exciting day to talk about business and business outlook from Africa to Europe. My name is Blyden. Okay, economic calendar. The data is to be released today. One intrinsic factor would be the windfall tax that is to be suspended. On energy firms, 40%, and businesses. Energy firm profits have soared recently, initially due to rising demand for COVID restrictions, which were lifted, and then because Russia talking about the analysis in Sudan has triggered a regional crisis, including South Sudanese returning from Sudan and refugees from other nations, still within Africa. For the fiscal year 2023-2024, the Tanzanian government has set aside a 16% increase over the 9.1 trillion shilling that the parliament had previously approved for paying the loans that the government. The finance minister emphasizes the need for borrowed funds to be spent on development projects, 81.8%, well below the maximum threshold of 55%. South Africa's gross domestic product and its slowdown, according to McKinsey reports. The report was titled Reimagine. At the pace it achieved from 2000 to 2010, its GDP in 2019 would have been $3 trillion instead of 2. Among the recent slowdowns, and South Africa among the slow growers. According to the firm, Africa, the Nigerian outlook. The National Bureau of Statistics Foreign Trade Statistics declined from 219 billion naira in the corresponding quarter of the previous year to 131.1 billion, 20.98% of total trade. Of this, the export component accounted for 100. Japan worth 16.28 billion naira. This was followed by vessels and other floating structures for breakup. Values exported to Japan valued at 9.84 billion naira. Compressed natural gas to vehicles that run on gas. According to Thursday's report, about 800 tankers that they were collocating CNG dispensing pumps in selected filling stations that dispense premium motor spirit. Quite concerning from that angle, but it would be a good time to look at global economy and talk about economic data all around. According to the economic calendar, at the early hours of this morning, South on year in China for May. Inflation came out at 0.2% for May. The previous standing talk about what the data highlights in the afternoon period. Expected data to be released by 1:30 p.m. would be the candidate for the month of May, who increased to 5.1%. We'll get to find out what the details and features. We'll get to talk about the state of things regarding China's annual inflation rates. China's annual inflation rates of 0.3%. Food inflation picked up from a 13-month low in the prior month, while non-food inflation was flat for the 8th month. Let's move to the chart and see what the indications are regarding changes in terms of producers' price inflation in China. The overall inflation standing as a June before getting to 2.1% again after a slight decline. This year, inflation in China has faced huge decline, dropping to 1%, 0.7%, 0.1%, and in May, the prices of commodities. In Africa, we'll talk about South Africa's factory production as it rebounds, best annual gain and gain in 6 months, and better than market forecast of 2.5%. The largest food and beverages 4.6%, petroleum, chemical products, rubber, and plastics at 2.8 trillion production rose 0.5% in South Africa. To confirm this, let's look at the charts for South Africa's manufacturing. As of July 2022, manufacturing index stood at 4%. It went further upward, slightly declined, and now afterwards upward to 2.7% before dropping to 0.9%, and consistently from October 2022. Manufacturing sector. One concern in South Africa has been power shortages affecting manufacturing. The forex market, don't go anywhere. Business 360 continues.
On May 30th, the Fed funds futures market priced in a 6% level of around 24%. Now, what's really interesting is that the futures market is now pricing in 25 and perhaps not a full pause. A deeper dive into the recent labor data may explain some of the market's ambiguity. It'd be a beat with a 339,000 headline number, but an unemployment rate that jumped from 3.4% to 3.7% level since May 24th. Of course, the CPI and the PPI numbers come out on June 13th and June 14th, and that could have huge ramifications on check that 4.43 and target a move back to the March highs of 5.05.
Welcome back. It's Business 360. My name is Blyden Okem. In-demand metals. Copper demand has skyrocketed as the push for electrification of vehicles and energy sources, solar panels, and even the entire power grid. Let's find out more regarding this from the Wall Street.
Copper is worth more than a penny, but in today's global economy and in short supply.
At the start of the next decade, we're going to have a shortfall of over 5. Electrification essentially means moving away from relying so much on fossil fuels for our energy needs.
Copper is critical to electrification, so electricity isn't lost in transit.
So copper is actually used in a great quantity for these.
EVs require an estimated 4 times as much copper as gas-fueled cars. Wind and solar farms.
We're going to need over 35 million metric tons of copper, and supply, on the other hand, is supposed to last.
It demands.
Kamala Harris is talking about the Inflation Reduction Act, which has pumped
involved in the making of, wind farms or factories that are making solar components and whatnot. And obviously, since copper is
the price of copper from the market itself, the metal market. Let's move to the market. Gold price dropping 4.57 points this morning, a negative 0.23 percentage decline. For the price of gold, it's $1,963 per all the upsurge in recent times. On a weekly basis, copper has gained 1.96 percentage appreciation. For steel, is a similar story. Iron ore also doing quite well in the morning market. Let's look at the price of crude oil, Brent crude, natural gas, and the rest this morning. Crude oil, the US crude, have gained slightly this morning, 0.395 points, $0.556 per barrel. A slight gain for it this morning. After yesterday's decline, it was a huge decline yesterday for crude oil. Now, no volatility in the energy market this morning. Let's look at the agricultural market. For the states of soybean, $170 per bushel is the price of soybeans. For wheat, $624 per bushel and 8 points. You look at it, the price of palm oil is 3,372 Malaysian ringgit per. Let's talk about some of the details with the foreign exchange market. Talking about it 18% and bringing the total depreciation to about 18% since the runoff. Known for his market-friendly policies as a new finance minister, President Tayyip Erdogan appointed of Turkey's central bank. These moves were seen as a strong signal of a shift from the unauthorized exchange reserves in Turkey. Meanwhile, annual inflation rate has eased for the 7th consecutive, but it is still far from the central bank's target rate of 22.3% for 2020. It's rebounded following a volatile start to the week. Can Ether and the bulls talking about the bulls, and he'll answer these questions. Let's hear from Jim Laurier.
Losses were quickly recovered as the important 1800 support level held. Now, the crypto enthusiasts will argue that Ether still has had a relatively calm trade since April 20th, moving in a channel-defined 14th meeting, and perhaps renew their hiking cycle on July 26th.
Jim is an economist with the CME Group, Bitcoin, and the rest. And afterwards, we'll be talking about the euro against the US dollar, dropping 17 points, $26,627 for one Bitcoin, a negative 0.06 percentage decline for Binance. Well, quite concerning for crypto, Cardano, Solana, Ripples, though not significant, gives Euro USD at 1.076 level, slight decline for the euro against the US dollar. The US dollar is stronger than most of these pairs this morning. Let's look at Naira's perspective then. National exchange window. The euro against the Naira, 495. It's the price of 1 Naira against the euro, and it's quite consistent. 0661 over the US dollar. 575.49 Naira equaling £1. Naira equaling $1. The struggle continues for Naira at the buying rate and selling rate 760 Naira to $1. Pound Naira is 810 at the buying rate and 795 Naira to €1 at the selling rate. Yesterday's market and what the picture is regarding today's market. The equity capitalization in the Nigeria from 30.5 trillion Naira to 30.46 trillion Naira after 5 hours of trading yesterday. Similarly, the all-share index dipped by 78 million shares, valued at 7.68 billion Naira in 6,061 deals. Let's double per share. And the bottom losers. John Holt topped the losers table after shedding 15 kobo to drop from 1 Naira 57.47 million shares, valued at 1 Naira 1.72 billion Naira.